Hello, I'm Carole Sawo, and I've created a series of free tutorials for you to teach you about psychology and how your brain and your mind are working. So I'll teach you some basics of psychology, brain anatomy and neural communication, and then I'm going to teach you some psychoanalysis. So in psychology, which we class as a science, we study the way the brain works and our behaviour. And we do that by getting people to do some tasks, and then we scan their brain and monitor where their brain is lighting up, because that's going to tell us what part of the brain is dealing with what part of the body. If we go into psychoanalysis, we learn the answers to why. Why do people behave in the way that they do, which is an area that I'm particularly fascinated in. So I look at the unconscious forces that motivate people, and it'd be my pleasure to teach you some of the basics of that. And also we'll go into philosophy. So you may want to subscribe now to this series so you get the next video as I produce them, or you can head on over to the website and have a look at some of the videos I've already created and some of the articles that I've written. Psychology is the study of brain and behaviour. So really we're looking at brain anatomy, and our brain breaks down into different hemispheres and lobes, and there are some areas of the brain that deal with specific things which I'm going to go through and teach you in another few videos time. But mostly people think the inside of the mind is somewhere that can't be understood because we can't see it, and a lot of people are frightened of things they can't see. But I've been studying this for years, and so I can tell you there's not a brain or a mind even that I haven't been able to understand. And here's why. The brain actually functions like an engine of a car. So if you think about it, we've all got different cars, they come in different makes and models, but they essentially all function in the same way. They need the same components to work, and they need us to put things into the engine to assist in making that work. So things like water and oil. Also, our brains are hugely electrical, energetic components to our whole body and our whole experience, really. And so it's in our interest to understand the electricity that goes around the brain, and then look at what happens if there's any blockages in our entire system. We also, if you think about the back axle of a car, we also have a certain level of tolerance. So some people seem to be quite strong and they can handle a lot of pressure, and other people don't seem to be able to. But I'm going to talk about that a lot more in other seminars when we get to psychoanalysis in particular. So inside the brain we have two hemispheres. We have the left hemisphere that works the right hand side of our body, and we have the right hemisphere that actually works the left hand side of our body. So we have this crossing over component, and the information is communicated across the brain via this little bridge here, and we call that the Corpus Callosum. And that bridge is really quite important. Something, for example, such as epilepsy, is where maybe there's too much activity, too much electricity going around and through the brain and across this particular bridge. Also, what's important to understand is that a lack of oxygen to the heart is a heart attack, but a lack of oxygen to the brain is a stroke. And the way the body works is that oxygen into the right hemisphere here, and if there's a block in the right hemisphere, as it works the left hand side of your body, what you'll notice if you or somebody in your family you know that's had a stroke, it will be the left hand side of their body that actually drops. And that's how we know what's happening in the brain. What's really interesting about the hemispheres, the left hand side is often thought to be the male brain, and the right side is thought to be the female brain. Now, what's really interesting in the male brain on the left-hand side is it's a very logical, factual, mathematical, analytical side of the brain. So it's got a linear view, and it lights things in a certain order. In the left-hand side of our brain, we store math sequences and binary codes and other sequences of numbers and also letters and words. And so over here, we have two little components called the Wernicke's and the Broca area of the brain, and they're important when it comes to our language. And things like dyslexia, it might be that we're having some issues there with the brain cells or the way it's connecting and forming our sentence structures. But we also have something called the lexicon, and the lexicon just simply means dictionary. So we have a dictionary in our brain where we store all of our words. So the left hemisphere is really important for me being able to speak to you now and you being able to understand what I'm saying. Opposite side of the brain, on the right side of the brain, the right hemisphere, it's thought to be more creative, so it deals with things like artwork and poetry and music and free expression, so it's more, if you like, a wide-angle viewer. It's more aesthetical. Hopefully in this little tutorial, just showing you about the two hemispheres, just to introduce you to the concept of psychology, we're looking at how the brain actually functions. You'll get an idea that we've started to map the brain already from this very first tutorial. So I look forward to seeing you in the other tutorials. The next one coming up is on lobes of the brain. I look forward to seeing you in that tutorial. Bye for now.